statement about the matchup Sunday with North Carolina, and then we'll take you guys' questions.
Just really interested to see how our team bounces back after a poor performance. North Carolina would be a great challenge for us. Certainly, everybody knows the history of it, but more than anything, I think I'm just anxious to see our guys respond and playing another meaningful game. Questions?
I guess size is kind of the one thing that jumps out with them, and I guess Page as well.
Yeah, talented group, certainly big and strong inside. A lot of depth, toe-to-toe, great front court athlete, wing athlete, much like KJ. Should be a really good matchup at that spot. Page is certainly their go-to guy, and the guy that great player, can play the point, play the two, score, pass. Great free throw shooter. I mean, really just an outstanding player. And then they've got great front court size, McAdoo and James and Johnson and others. I mean, they just have Kennedy Meeks. They've got 4 guys in there that are, all have great size, length, do different things well, bulk. Terrific offensive rebounding team. Present many challenges that way, and certainly they'll be highly motivated.
Are you surprised this year the inconsistency they've had? I mean, they beat a team like Kentucky and then struggle with other teams?
Not as much. I mean, I understand. I don't think it's easy to. I think it's easy to look at other people's situations, and I really don't want to judge that. The fact that they can play as well as they have in certain situations shows you that when they're really clicking and playing well, they're as good as almost anybody in the country. I do think consistency is challenging. I think there's more better teams now than ever, and because of that, I think expectations, like you look at a Belmont loss or a UAB loss, and maybe sometimes not enough credit's given to how good those teams are. I think some of those teams are pretty good, and some of those losses happen, especially those non-conference losses, happen when they had a lot of things hanging over their head. And I think, when you're waiting to find out about players being eligible and some guys are practicing with you, but you don't know if they're going to play, and how do you formulate your team? How do you plan for your team when these guys might come back, they might not come back? I don't think that's easy. And so I think there are some unique challenges that they had to deal with early that, Roy Williams won a lot of games, national championships. I mean, he knows what he's doing. And so I just think there's a lot of unique circumstances that have surrounded their season. And sometimes all that controversy and all that extra things that you're dealing with is not as easy as people think to deal with, to block it out when you get right to the court.
Because of their size, are you inclined to, or thinking that you might need to pack it in a little bit more, and might we see some big combinations on the floor for you that maybe we haven't seen to this point in the season?
I don't know about that, the packing it in part, but I think you could see bigger lineups for us. I mean, we've played bigger at times. It's hard for us sometimes to play Landry and City together just because you play them together for a while, and then somebody invariably is going to get fouls, and you need both of them at some point to play the center spot. And so to play one of them in a power forward is challenging from the standpoint of putting fouls in jeopardy. But I think if you could see some big lineups for us, big situations where we do have those guys in there together for small periods, if we can keep them out of foul trouble, just to combat their size, because they are physically a very big, strong team.
For all that you hear about the streak and talk about the streak, is there maybe one benefit from your team's standpoint that North Carolina hears about protecting the streak from their standpoint, and maybe they're a little bit tight if you guys can kind of hang around and maybe get them worrying a little bit in the second half?
Certainly, that could be. I'm sure on their side they would say that, yeah, and but I don't. It's hard for me to speak to how they feel and what they think, and to be honest, I'm not concerned with that too much. I'm not concerned with the streak at all. So I'm more concerned about our guys, what we think, and what we're doing to get ready.
How different are they than the team you played up there 2 years ago with Henson and some of those guys? Are they any different in anything that they do?
Not really. They play the same way they've always played. stylistically. They're probably not as fast right now because they don't have quite as much perimeter depth. So their transition's probably not quite as good as it's been because the Carolina transition's been as good as anybody in the country in most years. But they're still very formidable because they have, frontline players that you just don't see as much at many programs. You don't see the kind of talented big players in depth at most places as you do at Carolina. They had it obviously with Henson and Zeller and all those guys, and now they have it with these guys. But stylistically, they play the same way. The only change really is they've played a little bit of a 3-2 zone now for some possessions defensively, but offensively, very similar.
What was it that they did well, if you've gone back and looked at it, in those wins against the programs like Michigan State and Louisville?
I haven't watched all those games because they were so far ago. And I think what's impressive, especially the Michigan State game, is just the way they did it. To go into a very hostile environment and to really control the game the whole time and really not let Michigan State make a run speaks to the overall, talent level, but also the confidence level when they're playing well and they're playing the way they want to play. They believe that they should do special things. And in those games they did because they really, handled Michigan State with not a lot of problem. They rebounded exceptionally well and got some transition baskets against Louisville. Kennedy Meeks had like 7 assists in the game. He was like Wes Unseld throwing outlet passes, and they were fast breaking against him and just playing at an exceptionally high level. And I think that's, again, because of their size inside, maybe they match up better with teams that are bigger and stronger. Maybe they don't match up as well with the Belmonts and the smaller teams that, have more guard play and spread you out a little bit more. And maybe they match up a little better with teams that are physically bigger. I don't know that to be the case, but that would just be a guess.
Does it help that after having a game like the other night to have North Carolina next on the schedule as far as making sure your team is focused on the next game and not thinking about what happened the other night?
Maybe. I think there's good and bad. I think you'll see, number one, you go into the arena, you're playing North Carolina, so certainly there'll be some excitement from our guys on that standpoint. But the other thing is you're going to play in front of 20,000 people, and you better get over being nervous, and you better, handle your business on the court and pay attention to what's going on the court if you're worried about what's going on off the court and all the things that surround it. And if you're not experienced in dealing with some of that, you're going to be exploited again. So, I think that's the next step our team's got to take is go into a hostile environment and compete at a level where we need to compete.
Was that wide-eyed look what bothered you most from the other night?
Yeah, I think it did. I didn't think we fought and played with the kind of determined spirit, collective determined spirit that we have throughout the year. It's why I told you after the Florida State game I really wasn't that upset because I did think we fought in that game. We just didn't play well. I didn't think we fought very well in the Pitt game. I thought the environment bothered us, and we lost composure a little bit. Really, we rallied back a little bit there at the end of the first half. I shouldn't say the end of the first, until the 4-minute mark of the first half when we cut it 28-18, cut it to 10. And then once the dam broke there in the last 4 minutes and they went up 37-20, we never recovered. And at halftime, I sensed that we weren't going to recover, and that disappointed me. And I think that's the part that's had me angry and had me playing other players, to be honest with you.
Any other questions for Brad today?
What have you done these last couple of days to, I guess, reinforce your anger?
We just talked about it. We've watched film and talked about effort and what we need to do to play better and coach better and that we better fix it here in the next couple of days. When we have another opportunity, we better be more prepared. I don't know that it's been anything drastic. We're not putting on helmets and hitting each other and stuff like that right now. We don't need to do that, but we need to understand what makes our team play well and what we stand for and what we're going to do to compete. And we especially better do it against a big, strong, physical team like North Carolina. You can do it and still give up some rebounds and physically have some problems because of their sheer size. So that better be something that you bring to the game.
When guys see how badly they played on film over the years, that your experience that generally that has an immediate positive impact kind of shown on the scene of the crime, so to speak?
I don't know that, generally speaking, you'd like to say so. I think sometimes, it depends on how much the player wants to look at things. Sometimes they view things a little differently, and sometimes, some guys are very good about it, and other guys struggle to understand, and it takes more time. It takes several lessons to figure out the math problem, if you will. It doesn't just happen on one. And that's why experienced teams generally are better, that they've been through things a couple of times, understand how to handle things. We're still a very young team, still trying to learn a lot of different things, develop leadership within our team, ownership, and really continue to understand what makes us successful and make sure we play to that. And, and because we struggle to score some, our margin for error is small. And, if your defense breaks down when you can't score, you're in for a long night. And that's what happened to us a little bit against Pittsburgh.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Like,